Alright, welcome everybody to the first episode of Wood Arrow Making 101. Today we're going to cover selecting a shaft. There's a lot of options, a lot of choices, and there's certain things that I look for in my wood shafts, and we'll go over some of that. But first I want to just clarify one thing. If you're going to get into making wood arrows thinking you're going to save yourself some money, there's a real good possibility that you won't. There's a lot of equipment, time, and supplies that go into making these, and it's really a lot of fun. I really like doing it, but keep that in mind when you're making your decision whether you're going to jump into this or not. I will, as throughout the series of videos, I'm going to show you different equipment that you can use that I started with, and then as I progress and now am doing this as a business, obviously I have some bigger commercial equipment to help speed things up and get things precise every time, but there's a lot of tricks and tips that I've learned along the way that when I was making arrows just for myself or my family got me by for a lot of years. So I will try to incorporate that into videos. For those of you that have stopped and taken the time to leave me a comment on the intro, thank you. Some of the tips and the tricks that I'm going to incorporate into videos are coming from suggestions or questions from that intro. So please, if there's something you want me to cover, ask me. And I'm going to try to do a better job at replying and responding to everybody who posts a question. You'll see I got my iPad stuff here. I've taken some notes because I've actually shot this video 2 or 3 times. And every time in post I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work because I didn't really cover what I wanted to. So. First off, I get a lot of questions as to what's the best wood out there, what's the most durable, what stays the straightest. Honestly, it's a personal preference. Now, I have made arrows out of Doug fir, Port Orford cedar, hemlock, western larch, ash, tamarack, hemlock. I've tried them all, Sitka spruce. Really depends on what your end result is or what your goal is. Now, I'm located in the Pacific Northwest. I'm out of Jervis, Oregon. I'm about 40 minutes away from Sherwood Shafts. They make the best Doug fir shaft, I think, out there. I really love the work that they do. It makes my job of turning an arrow shaft into a wood shaft into an arrow a lot easier. So I use a ton of Sherwood. So I think it's really going to be dependent as to where you live and what's close to you. These guys will ship all over the U.S. You can get it from them, and you can buy them direct from me. I deal with them as well. But you just got to try them out. All the different woods have different properties. Now, with that said, Doug fir seems to be on average anywhere from 75 to 100 grains heavier in mass weight amongst the same spines. Now, that's an average. There's times where Port Orford cedar, I've had some really heavy Port Orford cedar shafts, and with that said, I've had some really light, and I have some really light grain weight Doug fir in stock from about 25 pounds to 40 to 45 pound spine. So if you're a tournament shooter that you require wood arrows, there is an option out there for you for Doug fir to shoot those, and they make a beautiful arrow. But so with that said, your Doug fir, your ash, and a lot of your hardwoods tend to be heavier. So if you're looking for a heavier mass weight, you want that 650, 700, 800 grain arrow, look to those. You'll get a nice heavy arrow that'll carry its weight throughout the shaft or throughout the arrow. If you're looking for something lighter, you're going to want to look at your Port Orford cedar, your Sitka spruce, and your hemlock if you can find it. Those tend to be a little bit lighter. So again, it's going to be personal preference as to what part of the country you're in and what's close by. Now, you also have different diameters. So you have 5/16, which is smaller, and I thought I brought some out here with me. That is normally, here they are. 5/16 are normally lighter spine because there's less mass, and they are popular for the kids. We try to get the weight down when the kids are shooting, anywhere from 10 to 25 pounds of spine range. 5/16 is what I try to keep them in. You can get higher spine in these. I actually have some Doug Fir 5/16 that are about 50 to 55, I believe, back there. But they're rare. Obviously, the more mass you take off of that shaft, the lighter they're going to be, the more they're going to flex. The most popular size right now is 11/32. That's what these are. That's what a lot of my shafts are. The new stuff coming out is 11/32. Again, you can find this in spine ranges from 30 all the way up to, I'm going to say, about 80 to 85. Every once in a while you'll get a higher spine range in that. And then the next one is 23/64, excuse me, and that was really popular back in the day, and for some reason it's kind of fallen out of favor right now. The skinny shafts are really popular. But honestly, I like a 23/64 shaft myself with the equipment that I have, and I'll cover this later on in the video. I can reduce the tip size down to 11/32, so it has a smooth transition from the broadhead up into the arrow. And then I will also taper the back half from a 23/64 down to 5/16. And so some people are calling that a barrel taper, breasted taper. I've heard a couple different terms for that. But what that does is give you a nice smooth shaft all the way through with some bigger mass in the middle. I personally think they're more durable, and that's what you'll find in my quiver come hunting season, and basically pretty much all my arrows. Now let's talk a little bit about grade. Different manufacturers call them all different names. So you have utilities, I've heard them called hunters, nutters, stumpers, premium, competition grade. Basically what they're doing from the different manufacturers I talk to, and when I inspect the arrow, what I look for is grain structure. You want the wood grain to run the entire length of the arrow all the way through. That is how the arrow gets its strength and durability, and quite frankly, they'll be a lot straighter. They can still be, now with that said, that's relevant to the wood. It can have grain running all the way through and still be a 35-pound spine. It's just not that stiff, but it has some strength in there. That means that the growth rings, when they were manufactured, the manufacturer took the time to line up the bolts and to mill it out appropriately, or the right way, so everything lines up and you get a nice straight and strong shaft. So the more grain run out they have, the lower in grade they go. So for the premium shafts that I have in stock, and in Sherwood shafts it's the same way, and so is a Wapiti for Port Orford cedar. What they call a premium shaft means that they have little to no grain run out through the entire length of the shaft. They're very strong, they're very straight, and they are the easiest to make a good quality arrow out of. Now when you start dropping down into their hunters or nutters or stumpers or whatever they're going to call it, that means they're going to have a little bit of grain run out. They might not be as straight. It could be that on one end when they were processed that it isn't quite round. So there's different reasons why they grade it out. I suggest that you talk to whoever you buy them from and ask them what criteria they use for grading it out. Now with that said, depends on what you're going to use the arrows for. If you're just going to go out and shoot squirrels and stump and have a disposable arrow, use the lower grades. Save yourself some money. You can usually get those at a cheaper rate. This is what I call my wood test arrows. These are made out of Doug Fir from Sherwood Shafts, and I use their utilities. This is, it's still a good shaft, and a good arrow to shoot, and for guys and gals who have never shot a wood arrow and want to try it, that's what I have these for. They are all hand spined, so you'll know what spine you're shooting, so that you can shoot it out of multiple bows and see what shoots right and what's going to paper tune for you. But I don't grain match them. So when you buy them individually. I sell them for $5 a piece, and I have a lot of customers that buy them just for stumping, and basically they're a disposable arrow. They're still good enough quality to where you can shoot them, but if you hit something hard, there's a chance they're going to break because they'll have some grain run out. So if you're stumping and stuff, that's fine. I would not recommend hunting big game with this, because if you end up smacking something in the shoulder blade or in a leg or something, you might break on impact and not get that penetration that you need to push through. So that's where when I'm hunting, when I'm making my hunting arrows for deer and for elk, Bear, whatever, all my big game, they are made out of premium shafts because they have strength, and I have the confidence that they will get good penetration. I have multiple customers that have gotten complete pass-throughs on big game, including elk. Okay, here's another option to consider. Once you really get into wood arrows, this is something you can do. Is you can buy or make some footed arrows, and that's basically where you're going to take a Port Orford cedar shaft, or it's better if you use a lighter weight material, because what this does is gives you more weight forward. It's a harder wood. It's less likely to break right behind the broadhead or the point, and they look absolutely beautiful when you finish them up. So there's one option. Another option for you, a good way to go if you're just starting out, is when you go to buy your shafts, ask for them to be cut and tapered to your length. That way you don't have to buy a taper tool right off the bat. There are a lot of tools and equipment you'll have to accumulate to go from this to a finished arrow. But you can save yourself some time and money if you will have them cut and tapered. I can cut and taper them here for you and ship them to you ready to go, to where all you're going to have to do is do some light prep work and you can start sealing and cresting and painting. So anyways, if you find this enjoyable, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and take the time to leave me a comment. I will try to cover and answer those questions and include those into future and upcoming videos. The next in this series is going to be what to do with these once you get them. Okay? And with that said, thanks for watching.